Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cricketology. It's the English cricket summer. And as I said in my tweet, if you remember a few days ago, the four best teams of the world are in England right now. England, the World Cup champions, New Zealand, the World Cup runners-up, and of course, the World Test Championship finalists, and also India, who are the finalists of the World Test Championship. Both of them will be playing each other in a couple of days. That's going to be an awesome Test match to look forward to. Although it could have been much more than one Test match. It should have been a best of three, at least that's what I think. But either way, going to be some really exciting cricket coming forward. Luckily for us, because here we are stuck in these supposed travel restrictions. So some entertainment for us cricket fans. But honestly speaking, as Sri Lankan fans, we are looking forward to our boys taking on the field against the world champions in Cardiff. That's where the games are going to be played. We're playing three T20s and 3 one-day internationals. Going to be exciting times. Obviously, we haven't had the best of times as a cricket team, especially the white ball format. We've struggled. We all know that. Lost to Bangladesh with a young squad. A few changes have been made. Lots of talk going on with contracts and blah, blah, blah. Let's put all that aside. Let's now focus on the action, which begins in a week. And to talk about that, I have with me my good friend, Kosala Suresh Chandra. And joining him is Harun Mawjud. One is a commentator for a long time on radio and on TV. And the other one is also a commentator, but he's also got some good experience playing on the international level. Former Sri Lankan under-19, Harun Mawjud. What's up, gentlemen? How are you all doing? How's your lockdown going?
Well, we're doing fine in terms of health-wise, but on other terms, work-wise and other things, of course, really it's at a standstill on what I do as a profession, but then keeping my head above the water.
Yeah, Kosal is a DJ, and DJs are having a horrid time. There's no parties, there's no weddings, there's no events in there. Harun, what about you, man?
Life is going on, Samir. Thanks. Just experienced a power failure, so hopped into my car, which is not a bad experience to be honest. It's so much more peaceful actually.
Yeah,
things have been going on quite
nice and bright. That's good. Good to know, guys. Okay, guys, let's get into the action. Sri Lanka takes on the world champions in England, in Cardiff, where we were just discussing off air. It's early summer, isn't it? So it's still cold, even though the Englishmen call it summer. For us Sri Lankans, it must be like going to Norelli or Haputale. We're talking about 19 degrees, 18 degrees. Kosala, I'll start off with you. How do you think we'll fare there? Looking at the squad that we have and looking at the changes that we've made with all the off-field distractions as well, contracts and whatnot, fitness issues, former senior players talking about fitness issues and whatnot. How do you think this young crop of players are going to fare in England? Do you think we'll do better than what we did in Bangladesh?
I think they will come with a high, especially with that victory that we gained in the previous, the last one-day game. So that will take the added boost to the squad. So the selectors have gone with the same policy that they want to blood in young cricketers. They're looking at 2023 World Cup. So that's their main focus area is. But they brought in one senior player that they left out from the Bangladesh join, Nuwan Pradeep, back into the squad, especially with the experience that he carries playing in England, and his type of bowling might suit the current situation. As you mentioned, it's pretty cold in England, so the ball will start to move around. There will be cloudy conditions, so all those things will come into play. It will be very cold, and it won't be easy for the Sri Lankans. It's going to be a new experience for the Sri Lankan youngsters. But don't forget, if you really look at the side, there are 9 players who have toured and played in England in this squad. So you can't say that Sri Lanka is a relatively young side going in, neither that you can say that they have no experience playing in England, because Kusal Janit's played in England, Kusal Mendis, Dhanush Gunatilaka, Niroshan Dikwell, then Isuruddin has played in the 2009 T20 World Cup and in the 2019 limited over 50 over format. So he's got loads of experience on how he needs to add up. He's the most experienced player in England. If you compare, Binura Fernando has played a lot of cricket in England, though he's not played international cricket. So you see, there is a crop of players who have been in England. Dasun Shanaka has been there. So you see, you cannot say that they lack experience, but they need to put their act together. That's the main thing. We'll talk about the squads later. Let's see what Harun has to say.
Yeah, Harun, what about you? You agree with Kosal? Of course, I do agree that, even though we call it a young side, it is definitely a side that has played in England, that has played quite a few games. I was actually recently watching some of the highlights of the games in the World Cup, in the 2019 World Cup. And man, Nuwan Pradeep knows how to bowl in England. And every time he's bowled, he's looked really good. And I like this new combination of Nuwan and Shamira with the new ball. What about you, Harun? What are your thoughts on this team in England?
No, I think Kosal hit the nail on the coffin in terms of the experience side of things, because most of these guys came into the World Cup in 2019 playing in England. To be honest, white ball cricket in England is not as difficult playing red ball cricket. You're playing with the Kookaburra. So it's pretty much business as usual. It's just the fact that the team has not been winning consistently lately. So that those are the kind of pressure points that each and every individual will be going through. But in terms of exposure and getting acclimatized, I believe that they would get adjusted quite quickly. Yes, that's my opinion. I'm really glad that they've got in Nuwan Pradeep, because as you rightly mentioned, he's a master. He's always been a master bowling in England. So hopefully he'll do the goods this time for us.
Yeah, indeed.
But I agree with Harun. Just to interrupt. Yeah, I just add a little bit. Nuwan Pradeep is the hit the deck type of a bowler. He's a seam up bowler, so that is the type of bowling that really comes off in England. If you look at the England seamers, how they bowl is more of a seam up and hit the deck.
Yeah, you know what, Harun, actually, you made a very good point. When it comes to white ball cricket, sometimes the moment we think of a place like England and South Africa, we're always thinking, okay, bounce, movement. Yes, as much as that's true to Test cricket with the Kookaburra ball, when it comes to white ball cricket, we've seen over the last few seasons that English cricket pitches are like run fists now, aren't they? We saw very high scores in the World Cup, and every time there's a team touring, like a good batting team, you talk about India going to England, you talk about Australia going to England, those matches, especially the ODIs, are high-scoring affairs. So in a way, I feel we shouldn't be too worried about, bounce and movement. If at all, those are pitches that are good for batting, and the ball comes out of the bat quite nicely, at least for the last few years that we've seen. And that's why this comment that I've just got, let's read it. It says, will Kusal Mendes be able to cope with the extra bounce as he struggled in South Africa, or has he done some technical changes to batting? I don't think bounce is a concern in England, because the ball comes on quite nicely to the bat on pitches that are made for ODI cricket in England. So I don't think Kusal Mendes, if at all, he scored quite well on such pitches. Okay, let's now go through the squad. Harun, I'll start with you. Are you happy with the selections we've made? We've brought in a couple of guys compared to that Bangladesh tour and left out maybe Ashen Bandara. I think it was a right call because he's been given a few opportunities. But what do you make of the squad otherwise?
To be honest, I'm pretty decent squad. I can't find too many flaws. Yes, I did kind of vent out my frustration in terms of Bhanuka Rajapaksa not being there in the initial 30, not in terms of getting in the 24 squad. But apart from that, Samir, there's nothing much in terms of to kind of vent out as a complaint. I feel this is kind of the best composition we could have taken, especially
Fernando comes back.
Yeah,
Fernando comes back. Ramesh Mendes retains his place because he did quite well. Then we have Nuwan Pradeep we spoke about. Praveen Jayavikram, the left-arm spinner, gets a chance. Kausala, what do you make of this squad?
Well, I would also agree with Harun. I would say that the squad is red, but Harun did mention about Bhanuka Rajapaksa. I don't know whether because of a royalist that he was saying that he should have been there, but then
but Bhanuka Rajapaksa has become such a controversial subject now. I tried not to bring it up, but Harun did it himself. So here you go.
No, there can be a teeny biasness to this. Huh? So.
Yeah. But I would say Bhanuka to me would have made it into that T20 squad. I don't know about the 50 over format, but I would have preferred him batting in the middle in the T20, but he's not there. But apart from that, Praveen Jayavikrama's inclusion in England a little surprises me, Harun and Sam, because a left-arm spinner in the side, will he be given an opportunity to go, whether they want him to play in the 50 over format or whether they want to play him in the T20 format? Where does he play in if that is the case? Because I thought he would have been a better option if they wanted to take him to Bangladesh, which are more spin-friendly tracks. But here in England, it's going to be a question because if he's a bowler who can really get the revs and the rip, then he will come effectively in England. But otherwise, in my both T20 11 and 50 over 11, I don't see Praveen Jayavikram in my starting lineup.
Okay, let's talk about the squad. Let's go by ability. We're talking about batsman. Avishka Fernando makes a comeback, and we also have included the potentially good. We've seen shades of his awesome batting. Charit Asalanka. What do you make of those two inclusions? I think Avishka Fernando definitely deserving, despite being dropped out earlier for the fitness test. He has passed it in the recent one, and now he gets a comeback. And then we have Charit Asalanka. That makes that top four batting positions very difficult to choose, doesn't it? I mean, we have the captain KJP wanting to open. Obviously, Danushka Gunatilaka has shown some good form, despite maybe not getting among the runs in Bangladesh. And then you have Avishka Fernando, who's impressed in the World Cup, played very well in England the last time. You have Kusal Mendes there in the top four. Then you have Charit Asalanka, who I feel deserves an opportunity from what we've seen. How are we going to go about this? Harun, who's if given the opportunity to choose the top four, Who are you? Who are you going for?
Yeah, so if you look at the T20 setup, Samir, if I'm telling my top four, obviously I would start off with Dhanushka Gunatilaka and Avishka Fernando opening the batting, Kusal Janit coming at 3, and Kusal Mendis at 4. So that's
Okay.
my top four in terms of the batting lineup for the T20s. And to be honest, I can't think of a change for the one days as well. It's very difficult because not many explosive options. The only thing that I can think of maybe is Niroshan Dikwal coming in to the top four. But then again, if Kusal is also playing, it's you're just going to find it so difficult to fit Dikwal into that top four. So that those are the four names that I have. Obviously, with the series going on, people like Charita Salanka and all the other newcomers will definitely get a go. But in terms of a starting 11, the top four batsmen would be them: Dhanushka Gunatilaka, Avishka Fernando, KJP, and Kusal Mendis.
I like the idea of KGP at number 3. I think as a captain he has to take that responsibility and come at that position. Kosala, you agree with that sentiment, or you have something different?
That would be my same 4. I would also go with the same 4 because Avishka Fernando to open to bring in the left hand right hand combination at the start rather than he coming in at number 3. Now, one thing that I noticed in Bangladesh was Kusal Janit's role when he was opening in the first 2 games. He tried to play more of an anchor type of innings. It is not his normal type of cricket that he normally used to play. He's a flamboyant guy. He likes to go after the bowling. Now, he changed the whole thing in the 3rd game. He started going after the bowling, then settled down later on. So that's the format that Kusal Janit needs to maintain, whether he's batting at number 3 or whether he's going at the top of the order. Because Kusal Janit, to me, cannot be a Dimut Karunaratne. He needs to be Kusal Janit Perra for sure. So just because he's been given the role as the captain, he needs to know, he needs to go about what he's doing good and what he's best at. So I would say, again, those 4 at the top. And the other important factors, I mean, if you look at the Sri Lankan squad, we have a lot of top order batsmen instead of middle order batsmen.
That's the concern.
Because you see, you have Pathum Nissanka in the squad. We have Oshada Fernando in the squad. Niroshan Dikwala can bat at the top. Charit Asalanka bats at the top. So now that's going to be the hard part. Who are you going to bring in to be your middle order? That's the key. Who is going to be your number 6 batsman? Who is going to be your number 7? Who's going to be your, that we always talk about the finishers part. So who's going to do that? Because when you have a lot of top order batsmen, so that's where you're missing Bhanuka Rajapaksa.
Oh, Arun, you put a smile on your face by saying that. Okay, you know what? See, that's the part I was going to get at, because all these batsmen that we've selected are top order batsmen. Now, I know the only guy I can think of who's happy to bat at number maybe 4, 5, 6 is someone like a Dharanjaya De Silva. And to me, I think he belongs in that team. Whether it's ODI, T20, the guy is versatile. He will adapt to the conditions. He will adapt to the situation of the game, and he will play. But what do you do then? But I also feel, you know what, this is a good opportunity for one of these batsmen to put their hands up and saying, you know what, send me in at number 4, number 5. I'm going to establish my position in the team. I'm going to cement my place by putting in a good performance where it's really needed. Because the top order hasn't been a concern for Sri Lanka. In the World Cup also we saw, we were always getting 100 for 1, 100 for 2, 150 for 1 sometimes. And then the bicycle parade starts. It's like the Perahera starts after that. But it's those positions where someone like a Asalanka, I'm sure, new guys like Charit Asalanka, Oshada Fernando, these guys have a good opportunity saying, okay, you know what, maybe I'm not batting in my position that I prefer to, but let me now make use of this opportunity, because the opportunity up for grabs. This is a place that no one is able to establish themselves. So let's go there and get it. Who would you guys put? I know Kusal Mendis will probably bat at 3 or 4, but who is it going to be after that? 4, 5, 6, 7. Harun, you go first.
Okay. So just looking at the Bangladesh series, obviously the unanimous option would be Wanindu Hasaranga batting up. Looking at the way how he kind of went about his business, aggressive. So he's someone who can up the tempo of an inning. Yes, there's an element of risk where we might lose him in that middle overs.
And where are you playing him at 5 down or 4 down? Or?
Yeah, 5 or 6. Number 5, 5 to 6. Because now currently, if I'm not mistaken, he is coming when 6 or 7 has kind of fallen down. So probably 2 slots above, where he can come in that pace just in case Sri Lanka lose a few quick wickets in this 25th to 30th over. That's where we've always been struggling. We've been able to consolidate the innings up to about the 20th. The moment the spinners come in and the fielders go back, we just kind of lose track, forget how to milk the singles, and we start losing wickets. And then the last 40 becomes, or the last 10 always becomes a struggle. So maybe to kind of give him that sense of responsibility as well, if we can get Hasaranga batting a bit further, maybe 2 slots in front, I think that might kind of add a bit of zest into the Sri Lankan batting line. Because then we can get the Dasun Shanakas and all to come and kind of finish off the innings.
So you're saying Kusal Mendis at probably 4, and then Dhananjay De Silva, then Wanindu Hasaranga, and then Dasun Shanaka and Isuru Udana et al. Kosala, your take on this?
Well, I would go with Dhananjay at number 5, but I would bring in now. I think Sri Lanka will definitely opt to play Niroshan Dikpal in the starting lineup. I'm talking about the 50-over format, so he might be an optional number 6 with the left hand in the middle order. I think that was one thing that we were lacking in Bangladesh with the left arm spinner bowling. We didn't have a proper left hand in this middle to consolidate the scoring in the middle. Wanindu Hasaranga would be my number 7. And then whether Sri Lanka would take the option whether they want to play one more spinner and 3 seamers, or they would want to play a player like Chamika Karunaratne in the side. We got Ishan Jayaratne in the side. So we got a couple of all-rounders also who can fit in that slot. Dasun Shanaka. But now Dasun Shanaka has been a concern to me, Sam, because we haven't seen him bowl much. So if he's playing, what's his role really? Whether he's going to be that 5th or 6th bowling option that Sri Lanka is bringing in and ask him to do bulk of the batting. So if then the case, then he needs to definitely bat ahead of Wanindu Hasaranga. So those are little things that will be looked into. But the main problem is, I think, when you have a squad of 24, it really is a bit of a problem to pick your final 11.
Yeah, that's true. And you're almost tempted to give everybody a chance, aren't you, as a coach and as a manager? So you're like, okay, I have to make sure that I've put in the best team out there, but at the same time, make sure that everyone gets an opportunity. So, and this guy called Ishan Jayaratne has been scoring a lot of runs in the domestic circuit recently. He's been picking up wickets. So he's that all-rounder that's been looked at. And as you said, Dasun Shanaka is someone who, if you're going to have him as a batsman, then he needs to bat much higher. I have a feeling maybe in Bangladesh, because the way we batted, he didn't really get an opportunity to show himself or bat in a way that is comfortable, which he, I think, prefers to come probably towards the end and start hitting those big shots. So I have a feeling this might be his last opportunity, if at all, to prove himself. But Harun, do you think someone like Ishan Jayaratne as an all-rounder has a place in the team? Because I know Mickey likes to give opportunities to new youngsters. Does Ishan stand a chance?
To be honest, in terms of myself and Ishan, our history dates back to the early 2000s, where we played our cricket together for a very long time. So he's a contemporary of mine and fantastic cricketer, and I think one of the most hardworking cricketers I've seen, because he never had special skills, special talent, but always put in the hard yards. And I think that's the fruits that he has kind of reaped in terms of getting selected with this too. A very well deserved selection, and I feel he can definitely play that all-rounder role, because he can definitely use the long handle, can hit those balls big, and has a wonderful outswinger. He swings the ball both ways, off the deck and in the air. He'll be kind of a useful all-rounder, like Kosala said, because if Dasun is not kind of coming up with those performances, you have a whole heap of people to select from. You have Dhananjay Lakshan, Ishan Jayaratne, Chamika Karunaratne, Isuru Udana. So you have this whole battery of all-rounders there. But I believe he should be given an opportunity, considering the fact that he's the man who's been in form playing domestic cricket in Sri Lanka.
Fair enough. Okay. So that's your all-rounder discussion. We're talking about if Dasun Shanaka is not there, then we're talking about either Chamika, Dhananjay Lakshan, who's also got an opportunity because of his awesome performances in the LPL and obviously recently at the T10 in Abu Dhabi. And then you have obviously someone who's established a place in the side, Wanindu Hasaranga. Okay, let's get to the bowlers now. I mean, it's going to be obvious, isn't it? Our 2 main fast bowlers are going to be Nuwan Pradeep and Chamira. Chamira has been brilliant all in Bangladesh. He was the one shining star that we had from all 3 matches. Do you see, Kosala, let's start with you. Do you see these 2 being the opening pacemen? And if at all, if we do, are we going to play an extra paceman, or are we going to have 2 fast bowlers and a couple of spinners?
Well, the interesting fact here is, will they want to have Nuwan Pradeep playing in the T20 games? That's my only concern. For the 50-over format, yes, as you said, Chamira, Nuwan Pradeep and Isuru Udana should be my first choice for the slots in the starting lineup for the first few games at least. So again, interesting to see whether Sri Lanka will want a bowler like Ramesh Mendis to support Wanindu Hasaranga, or whether they will want to bring in that additional all-round, as we spoke earlier, who bowls seam up or medium pace. So whether they want to go in it. But the interesting fact, if you look at the England squad name for the Sri Lanka tour, they have 3 spinners in the side.
Okay.
So maybe considering the fact how the wickets are behaving, that's why they have inserted 3 spinners in the side. So we never know till we have a look at what the surface with how the team selection might go on. So I think that's something interesting to think about. But normally, going back with the history, Sri Lanka would opt to go with Manu Dasaranga as a single spinner. They got Dhananjaya De Silva to support him, and then go with the four fast bowlers from number 8 onwards.
Okay, I'm going to put you guys in a difficult position. Okay, this is about a player who came with, not came with, I mean, he's been around for a long time. And because he played the IPL, there is this aura around him. Okay, Isuru Udana. I don't think he did well enough in Bangladesh because I thought he was trying too much, trying too many things. Do you guys believe he deserves more opportunities? And if given the option, would you play him in the T20s and ODIs, or would you play only him in the T20s? How would you go first?
Yeah, if I am to answer that question, I would only play him in the T20s, Sabit, because I think that's the format that suits him. Because if you look at the 50-over format, he has 10 overs to bowl. He becomes that much more predictable for the batsman. The more the batsman plays him, the more predictable he gets. I think a 4-over spell or a shorter format kind of helps the way in which he bowls, because the batsman doesn't have much time to think. So ideally, even in if you ask me my starting 11, I will not have Isuru in the starting 11 in terms of the 50-over format, but definitely would have him playing the T20s. So that's where I feel.
Thoughts on that? Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
finish it.
Go ahead, Arun. You had something to finish off?
That's why I feel a person like Ishan Jayaratne can kind of comfortably slot in to the one-day setup instead of Isuru.
Yeah. Isuru Udana to me also would be more ideally a T20 player. He's played IPL cricket. That's also T20 format. He's played a lot of T20 cricket in the Caribbean League, whatever the leagues it is. He's been playing a lot of T20 cricket. So he came into the Sri Lankan side in a T20 format to the 2009 World Cup. So he's more established as a T20 player. So I would agree on that part with Harun, that he might be more suited for that format because he's got a lot of variation. And we also saw in Bangladesh, his comeback overs was not effective. That's where he's lacking, because he goes four on the trot at the start, and then where do you bring him back? Because he's not a death bowler to me, and so even in the middle overs, he doesn't have. He has been very ineffective in Bangladesh. So that's why he was actually left out in the final game. And the other thing, Sam, is that just to add, Sri Lanka, the problem Sri Lanka currently has, or KP is currently having, is because who is your go-to bowler when you need a wicket? That's where, because when we had bowlers in the caliber of Rangana Herath or Lasith Malinga, a captain would always have the option, if you wanted a wicket in material of what the type, whether it's a 20th over, whether it's a 30th over, you give the ball to him and you expect a wicket. But who is going to do that job for Sri Lanka? So that's what we need to really figure out.
I think in T20s, we do have that person. Wanindu Hasaranga, for me, I think T20s, if he's someone who can get you a wicket, if not a wicket, at least he can apply enough pressure for the person bowling from the other side to pick up a wicket. So I think Wanindu is that go-to guy for anyone in T20. But you're right. In the ODIs is where we will struggle in those middle overs to pick up wickets. I can't find a bowler who will be able to do that for us. And that's why I feel some of these newer guys have a very good opportunity to pick that up. Even someone like a Shiran Fernando was taken on tour to Bangladesh, not given a single game. He's being taken to England also. I hope these new guys see, again, this is something that was said earlier, right? When the seniors were dropped. Even with the seniors, we kept losing matches anyway. So why not give opportunities to the youngsters and still lose? Because then at least you're getting a look, you're giving an opportunity to some young guy, whether, if he's up to it. You never know. You might just, someone like Ishan Jayaratne, maybe he's built for it. Maybe he's built for pressure situations on an international scene. You never know. So opportunities definitely should be given. And on the subject of death bowling, yes, you're right. Udana was exposed, honestly speaking, in Bangladesh. He didn't know what to do towards the end. He was trying too many things, leg cutter, off cutter, slow ball, and the Bangladeshi batsmen are reading him very easily. If at all, I thought Chamire is now much better as a death bowler. You'd rather use him along with maybe someone like a spinner who can control one. And I think Dhananjaya De Silva also does a decent job in doing that. Okay, I don't want to talk too much about the ODIs because we'll probably have a show after the T20 series to discuss the ODIs. So let's stick to the T20s. Harun, since we're coming to about 30 minutes, I think we can now go into your 11. Let's. I'm also going to give you the pitch in Cardiff. It's going to be a typical flat wicket, ball coming out of the bat nicely. Maybe a little later on, it might turn a bit. So in that circumstance, in a pitch like that, who's your 11 for Sri Lanka in the T20?
So Number 1 and 2 would be Danush Gunatilaka and
I'm going to put up the
Flaherty.
Scott to make things easy for you, okay?
Yeah, okay. So I just have it jotted down in my hand as well.
Okay,
So
there it is on the screen.
KJP at number 3, Kusal Mendes at number 4. This is the starting 11, mind you.
Okay.
DDS at number 5. Number 6, Niroshan Dikwala. I just have put a forward slash and put Charita Salanka as well. I would like to see him there, depending on who keeps. Then Vanidhu Hasaranga at 7. Dasun Shanak at 8. Isuru Udana or Dhananjay Lakshan at 9. Nuwan Pradeep and Dushmanta Chamir at 10 and 11. So basically, you're looking at 4 paces and 2 spinners that would be Vanidhu Hasaranga and DDS in terms of the bowling.
All right. Khosala, any changes or going with the same?
Well, the batting line seems similar to me. I would go with the top 6. Sometimes maybe there might be a slight change whether they will want to play Dikwella in the T20 format or whether they want to try somebody new. Vanidhu Hasaranga, with the experience in England, I would say Dasun Shanak would be given a go in the first match at least, because he's been to England once or twice. And Udana, Dushmanta Chamira, obvious. I have a concern whether they will want to play Nuwan Pradeep in the T20 format. I feel that he might be more suitable for the longer format. So I would rather prefer to have someone like Binura Fernando or Ishan Jaratna. Dhananjay Lakshan is definitely a starter for me. He should be the inside. So there might be option whether they want to play Dhananjay Lakshan or so. Coming back, Vanidhu Hasaranga at number 7, Dasun Shanak at number 8, Dhananjay Lakshan, Isuru Udana, and Dushmanta Chamira would be my 11.
You're going to have Dhananjay Lakshan and Isuru Udana both in the same team. Similar type of players, don't you think?
Similar type of players, but different kettle of fish, because the Dhananjay Lakshan can bring in a little more variety with the bat. So if they opt to play Dhananjay Lakshan, they might think take Isuru Udana off and then play Binura Fernando, because they're going for that variation of a left arm in the side.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one thing that we can look at, the left arm. The Binura Fernando, I think, had a decent outing against Bangladesh, didn't he? All right, okay. So
okay.
let's talk about predictions now. Harun, T20 series. Let's be realistic. 2-1, 3-0.
2-1 to England. 2-1 to England. I think that's a fair call, to be honest. Playing in those conditions.
Realistic call. Kosala, what about you? Kosala seems to have frozen.
Well,
Kosala,
I would say 2-1.
Okay, same thing. 2-1 to England, right?
Yeah, 2-1 to England.
Okay. I'm going to be the optimistic one, and I'm going to say 2-1 to Sri Lanka. And I hope, fingers crossed, that I prove you guys wrong and I'm right. Okay, gentlemen, I think it's been a fun chat. Anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Well, I would say that we wish the Sri Lankan team all the very best, and hopefully we can win. At least if we can win the series, it will be definitely a bonus for Sri Lanka. But it's the odds are against us. But then going in as the underdogs, you have a better advantage, because obviously England are the favorites in this series. So that will bring a lot of thing into the Sri Lankan side, because you're given the underdogs tag, and when you're on the underdog tag, you can pay your fearless cricket, what like KP said in the start of the Bangladesh tour.
Harun?
Yeah, I think they have the platform set to play fearless cricket, because the expectations are least, to be honest, Samir. So that can actually bring out the best in these players. So I do want to wish the entire 24 the very best, and hoping for a Sri Lankan win. Yeah, obviously my predictions were on a very realistic note, but sincere hope from the bottom of my heart is for a Sri Lankan win.
Indeed. We all want to see Sri Lanka win. And that's what, makes us smile. Despite the horrid times that we are going through as a country, the one thing that can put a smile on our face is definitely Sri Lanka winning in cricket. And I think that will automatically start making our moods much better. Right, Harun, thank you so much. Kosala, thank you very much. We will talk to you guys after the T20 series, hopefully after a win. And then we'll build up to the ODIs. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Amir. Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Always a pleasure.